the details to success almost no one talks about, straight from the mouth of a man with 100+ rental properties.
If you can make these little wins every day and these compound over time, you're just going to get better and better.
This episode, we speak with APS founder and property investor Sam Gordon, not to talk about all the details of property, but to talk about the subtle choices that are kept behind the scenes that have helped him create a massive portfolio. What's number 4, man?
To not own your primary residence, but it is to Rentvest. So the actual cost difference in renting that product versus owning it is significant. A massive variance in monthly cost and annual cost. There's nothing that holds growth back more.
We're talking about the choices you can make today that have been crucial in shaping one of Australia's most successful young property investors.
The only debt you should be taking on is income producing, and in my mind, it's just property. It's 6 simple choices, okay? But this one in particular is...
So if you're still wondering what else you can do to build a property portfolio, what other strategies you can learn, maybe what's that thing you're missing? Sometimes it's the simple choice outside of property that you might be completely unaware of that's actually holding you back from what you're truly capable of. My name's Todd Sloan. This is the Pizza and Property Podcast, and this episode is powered by Property Developer Network, APS, and Suburbs Finder. More about our awesome show sponsors in the show notes below. Right now, let's jump into the episode with Sammy Gordon. Sammy Gordon, how are you, man?
Todd, mate, good to be back, buddy. Doing well. How are you?
Mate, it's good to have you here. I'm doing well.
It's good.
We're talking about some simple choices, things that maybe don't seem too significant in the moment, but can make a huge impact on life later on. When we're doing the prep work for this, I had a quote that actually came to mind. I want to see if you actually know who this is. Successful investing is about managing risk, not avoiding it. Without, I feel like I need to cover my notes here. Without reading that.
Sam Gordon.
Close. Benjamin Graham.
There you go. Very close. Almost same millennia. Oh, man, you're the quotation guy. I'm just here for fun.
The reason I wanted to read it though is because I feel like so many of the choices on your list might seem safe.
Yes.
Okay. They might seem like, oh, this is the smart thing to do. This is the wise move. But in actual fact, when you're looking closer, they can actually be the thing that is completely holding you back from some massive growth. And this is why I wanted to unpack this, because I think that even if you could just adjust 1, 2 of these, you can do all of them. Fantastic. But if you can just adjust a few, life could genuinely be amazingly better as you keep growing as a property investor. But is there anything you wanted to set the stage with before we get into these?
Man, what you said just then just triggered something in my mind that kind of has makes sense to me with this is like winning at life is all about 1%ers, right? And like we're kind of talking about a lot of different things when we caught up a few months ago, and we're talking about like stacking the deck, stacking the wins. To me, like as you were saying that just then, it just made me realize like all these are just like 6 simple choices that are little wins. If you can make these little wins every day and these compound over time, you're just going to get better and better. And these choices are exactly what you're saying there, catapult growth. Because I think you used that slingshot analogy when we caught up last time as well. Like these little 1%ers, all of a sudden your 1% turns into 100%. You've had this huge amount of growth and this huge transitionary and trajectory change because of the little changes. So yeah, man, it's just like the little 1%ers every little day and stacking these things on top of them to help you win.
You find you're still doing all of these now? Or is it like, no, I'm at a point where I'm only doing a few, or?
Nah, man, if I look through all this
is still like the daily life of Sam Gordon?
Dude, I'm still all of these. 100%, I'm still all of these.
Okay. What's number 1 on the list?
Number 1, only take on good debt.
Okay.
No credit cards, personal loans, car loans, boat loans. Even the primary residence realistically is viewed as a liability, not an asset by the banks. But man, those bad debts are absolutely what kill an investing journey. And man, if I look at it right now, I literally still don't have a credit card. Never had.
You're not a points hacker?
No, man.
No?
Nah.
Okay. So even like through the business and everything, you don't do like...
We have a, it's not a credit card, it's a charge card. I can preload it. It's like a preloaded Amex, but I never put it in deficit.
So it's basically like a debit card?
Yeah, that's the only thing we've got.
All right. So bad debt that you see crippling people more often from growth.
Yeah.
Credit cards, obviously.
Yeah.
Car loans, the big one?
Car loans is probably the biggest one. And I think that the biggest reason, the bulk of your audience, and this goes across everyone, right? But it does definitely go for males and females. But, the biggest thing that we witness as young men is taking on that card to do the flex of what you can't actually afford. You're affording it by taking out debt and borrowing against it. Now, most of the time, there are 4 to 5 year pay down to pay that down. And normally you get told you can borrow $80,000. You go and you buy that $80,000, whatever it is, Ranger Raptor, or you go buy your Mercedes or whatever it is. You're buying to that fully extent of it. And that's pretty much, you're just pretty much putting a handbrake on the rest of your life financially for the next 5 years by making that decision. That's probably the biggest one. The other big ones we see is obviously people taking out personal loans for multiple things. The credit cards are the big one. The people just keep racking them up and just keeps destroying their track record and everything as well, you know? So I think it's one of the biggest things, man. Making that decision to only be able to afford what you can actually afford to buy, it's massive, because then you're not overextending yourself, especially if you haven't earned the right to do it. Why are you out there trying to buy that thing? Earn the right to do it before you do it, especially if you're young. That's one of the biggest things, man. Don't go and get yourself into debt you can't afford yet for things that are only going to depreciate in value. The only debt you should be taking on is income producing. And in my mind, it's just property.
How long do you drive a beat up car for?
Mate, I bought my first brand new car at 20, it would have been 27 or 28. So I drove an old clapped out thing till I was about 19. I bought another, I had like a $6,000 Land Rover Discovery. I had that for about 3 or 4 years and then that blew up.
Timing belt,
that's the one. And then, man, I used to drive the old Ford 1-tonner. So it was only supposed to be for like a couple of months. And then I just kept driving this old Ford 1-tonner. And man, it was ugly as, it was just literally an old, Ford RTV. For any tradies out there, they'd know exactly what that is. And that's, man, I drove that until I was 27 and I sold my first property I ever bought. So the one I bought at 19, the Wollongong unit, I sold that at 27. I put about $200,000 into 2 other deals and I had about 30 grand left over. And I was able to buy a dual cab brand new Mitsubishi Triton. So I bought one of those. Brand new. It was mad. It was so good for 30. I bought one of those for 32 grand. I'm selling it 3 years later with 80,000 Ks for more than I paid for it.
Is that like through the COVID car boom or?
Oh yeah, I sold it. I sold it at the start of the COVID car boom. So I think I bought it in 2017 and then I sold it mid 2020.
Yeah, well done.
From memory. Yeah, thanks, sir. But that's there was like 8 years there of that, and that was that whole period and that whole window where I didn't travel from 20 to 27. Kept driving that old beat up car, just like sacrificed, saved, didn't take on debt that I couldn't afford. I didn't take on any debts except for property debts during that time frame as well. That was a really formulative part of my property investing journey was that period through there. But it's that period where most people, they can't hack it, or like that, one of those years, instead of potentially saving 20, 30 grand to go towards another property, they might go towards Europe or something like that. And I think this is the choice that people need to make. And that's why potentially a choice like that probably isn't like a simple choice, but they're still choices that you're going to have, life choices that you're going to have in your journey that are either going to potentially make or break a property portfolio, or not make or break, but maybe make or stagnate. It could be make or break if you haven't bought anything yet.
But that's what I was just thinking. If it's the starting line and you're basically driving around your deposit and you've killed your serviceability because you've got this huge debt that you've got to service, it can be make or break, really.
100%. I mean, we wind back to that episode we did a fair few months ago now. I can't remember exactly when it was, but the one about the 2 boys, like Bales and Kyle, and their journey and what they went out there and bought themselves as well. And like for 4 or 5 years, not that they would have done it at the start, but for 4 or 5 years, like they paid off a car and that was all they really knew. And that's where all their money went. And then at the end of it, they didn't even really like the cars that much anyway at the end of it. And they just they'd finally paid this thing out and they owned a 50 grand sort of asset outright, but then selling that down and then putting that into the portfolio and putting that into the journey. That's where it really catapulted and started for them.
There's a Jimmy Carr quote. I think you watch a little bit of Diary of a CEO as well, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
I love his episode. I think he's done a couple with him, but there was one thing that he said, there's nothing you can buy at the mall today that you're going to give a shit about in 5 years' time. And I think that's so true, that when you think about anything that you can debt yourself with that isn't income producing debt, that you're just getting because it's fun right now, it's probably not going to mean anything to you in a few years.
Yeah.
But the thing that is going to mean a lot to you are the things that maybe it's not exactly the funnest thing to do right now, but is totally life-changing later on.
Yeah, 100%, man. I couldn't agree more with you. I even look at like the time frame it took me to buy. I got a couple of nice cars these days, right? The time frame it took me to buy them from when I could have bought them to when I did buy them, it was probably about 3 or 4 years. And the reason I didn't was because there's about $500,000 difference between what I bought compared to the cars that I really, really wanted. Now that $500,000 during a time frame of 2020 and 2021, going into the properties that it probably made me an extra $3 or $4 million having that out there, maybe more, having that out there in the marketplace, growing, and then being able to re-access it, re-leverage it, and put it into more deals than if I'd gone and bought that car. And yes, that would have given me short-term pleasure. I also would have been like, well, where to from here? Because I would have gone straight in and bought something that was like my dream. But also, I would have left so much money on the table from a growth perspective as well.
Where's that line though? Like, I want to get back to the listeners. You got me in a little deviation here.
We're going on a tangent.
A little bit. But how did you know now was the time? Because maybe you shouldn't have bought these and there was another 3 or 4 million that you could have made. Like, when do you go like, nah, I'm good, it's now?
When you make it up 3 or 4 millions multiple times, you kind of just get to a point where you're just like, I have now earned the right.
Yeah. Okay.
For me, it was when I could buy it in cash.
Okay, so when it was like more than comfortable.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's the thing, man. It's like even when you're kind of going through the journey, you're going through these different levels, it's when you can genuinely afford it. If I had done it earlier, I probably would have been equity releasing to be able to buy them from that side and actually using a fair bit of equity to kind of go towards it. And yeah, man, like how much money was I leaving on the table? And that's where it's it probably isn't the 3 or 4 mil. It's probably like a very, very multiplied version of that as well, considering those few years that I decided to buy the other cars instead of it.
Makes sense. Okay. So good debt. Basically, definition of good debt is debt that produces an income.
That's it.
If it's not producing an income, bad debt.
Yes.
What's the next simple choice?
The next simple choice is saying no to any negativity. The biggest reason I bring this in is it's because negativity kills all dreams. You know what I mean? Like when you have that, it's a constant weight on you from that perspective. It's very hard to stay positive and keep pushing through everything you need to push through and have a big journey and keep moving through. And exactly what we're talking about here, that's going to catapult growth. There's nothing that holds growth back more than being, for one, surrounding yourself with negative people, but then even the negative environments you might be around or what you're watching or listening to or whatever. It's like the people that almost go looking for the bad news article compared to going looking for the good news article. Even if what you're doing is giving yourself a dopamine hit by looking for the good news article, don't go looking for the bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like obviously always be aware of what's out there. But I think when it comes down to that side of things, even if we go one step further and we talk about people that you surround themselves with, you're great with quotes. You're probably going to remember this better than me. It's like small people discuss people, medium people discuss ideas, and great people. Okay, do you know this one? You're going to know this one.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Here we go.
Small minds discuss people, good minds discuss events, great minds discuss ideas.
I knew ideas was the top one. I threw it in there too early. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Small minds discuss people. You shouldn't be, for one, unless you're like looking at someone in a positive way going like, or how did they do this? How do I emulate this to then get to that level of something I'm aspiring to? The negative people would be trying to tear them down, just talking shit about them. Oh, they only did it because of this, or mummy and daddy's handouts. They're never looking for like, well, maybe they did it and they got there because they're better than me and because they worked their asses off to get there and they sacrificed maybe what I'm not willing to sacrifice to get there. You know what I mean? So it's like looking at it and trying to view everything from that perspective, not looking at it from the negative. What can I learn from this? What can I take from this? And then go to that level.
How do you find that within you? Because like, I'm just trying to think of this. It's easy to spot it in others because it's easy to always point out other people's faults.
Yeah.
But if maybe you're a little bit more of a negative person, because you said like you've had a fair bit of negativity around you in the past with some like family friends,
for sure.
You've absolutely separated yourself from that. Did you ever find yourself getting into that negative place and being like, well, Sam, and pulling back out? Or did you always just have such a guard up so you never felt yourself get into it? Because I'm trying to think if someone's pushing into that, how do they get out?
No, I was definitely in it, man. I was surrounded by it. I was deeply entrenched in it when I was younger. It was extremely hard for me. Like even when I was back playing soccer, I couldn't be happy for other people that were doing better than me. I struggled with it big time. I wish I had the mindset, the mentality I had now. Obviously, it's one thing to say as a 34-year-old, whatever I am, to say that now compared to when I was maybe a late teenager or something, right? Or even in my 20s. But ultimately, that sort of mindset holds you back because you're just worrying too much about other people rather than staying in your own lane and worrying about your own or trying to learn off these other things as well.
All right, so someone else is like winning a trophy or whatever. You're not up there cheering and going, sick, you earned it. You're going like, screw you.
Yeah, man, it was a hard way to, I guess, grow up around it. But I don't know, man, this is the way I was kind of built around it. And it's a tricky thing to sort of navigate because at the same time, it built a lot of competitiveness in me, but it was almost like it was with a negative streak as well. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't much positivity from it. It was just like, I need to win. And if I'm not winning or if I'm not the best, it was very hard for me to be happy. And then kind of as I got a bit older, man, I started to like let go a bit more of it. And then I had a few kind of like big sort of key sort of, I guess, like little events in my life that really started to make me kind of shift towards that more positive focus within what I was doing. It specifically started coming, actually, funnily enough, around business. When I started entering into business, I was focusing too much on other people and like other people that were in front of me. And I was really struggling to I was just focusing too much on them rather than struggling, like focusing on my own lane. And I think it was when a few of these sort of events happened that I realized I just need to like really just hone in and focus on what I'm good at, what I'm targeting, what I'm good at, the people that I'm working with, and just keep focusing on me doing a really, really good job. And I started surrounding myself with more and more people who were thinking the same. As a few people started saying it to me as well, and pumping me up, and I'd be pumping them up, and it just got to this really good sort of positive flow state where it was just more about that. And I literally just stopped thinking about other people from that front. And I started being a lot more conscious of negative people that were around me. So I started like slowly kind of like sifting these people out until I was really only left with a couple of like very, very close people in my life who I literally had to have conversations with about, you need to stop being negative. I need this out of my life. So it's either you need to effectively stop being like that around me, or as an absolute minimum, I'm gonna have to stop you when you start talking about it because I don't want it. Because it's crazy how much it can like detract from like its flow and motion and like that forward momentum. It so easily can be derailed by someone like trying to push you off, or even not intentionally trying to push you off in terms of people who might be close to you.
Are you the kind of person as well that when something kind of like happens,
it can just completely derail your day. Like,
I've got to be very careful of triggers.
There's certain things I will not do now at the start of the day because I just know the whole day is lost if it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
And so from the negativity side of things, I feel like surely you and I aren't alone with that. But then if we look at it from a day perspective, yeah, okay, we'll just have a better day tomorrow. But if you're looking at this as you're constantly around people that are pulling you back from what you're capable of and like proper life choices, this looks like a little one, but it's a simple choice that can completely change things.
100%, man. And like what you got to look at is the flip side of like, if you are no longer around negativity, it's dragging you back. And instead you're around other people that are you're all trying to push each other up. What does that look like? It's a completely different journey. It's a completely different, I think like trajectory when you're on that, because if you're all trying to go to that different level, it's a game changer, man.
I was talking to a friend the other day about this, who's a successful property investor, and saying like, what's more important, persistence or positivity? And without even thinking, it was like positivity. I was like, why? He's like, because if you're super persistent, that's great and you need that. But if you're super persistent and negative, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You've got to have that positive mindset.
It's very true. Yeah. Positive enthusiasm, man. It's huge. It's massive.
What's the next one on the list, man?
Man, next one on the list. This is a funny one. This is one I actually made when I was probably in my mid-20s. It was when I started hearing a little bit more about like the impacts of negativity and negative news, right? And the media in particular. And for me, it was don't listen to the news. The way this was kind of explained to me is like the media is literally there to manipulate you, right? They're there to try and get clicks and to get views. So they're either, when times are good, they're throwing all the big headlines out there, all the big dopamine hits. Yeah, mad, everyone's cheering, the world's great. As soon as something turns and like then the negative headline comes in, what gets clicks more? It's not really the success stories. It's the noise and the really negative things that people are either super worried about or like that other people can kind of jump on the bandwagon of like, crushing.
Bianca actually asked me the other day. She saw you had an article on news.com.au.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't even know why he's on there because it's just all negativity. Yeah. Every comment is like, oh, this guy greedy this, greedy that. And it's like, but the newspaper probably loves that. They don't care if it's positive or negative. Yeah. So they're probably all for it.
Yeah. I held off for like so many years since that last one that I did as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was bad. That one's bad.
Yeah. But so, and this just illustrates the point though, is you look at the news, that's a positive story.
Yeah.
This is a story of like, what was it again? Rabbit farmer to millionaire. Like, I can't remember the headline, something like that. But it's something that should be inspirational, uplifting, educational.
Yeah.
And instead it turns into negativity.
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing though is like, you think about it, the news is on every single night, right? And it's on most of the time, every single hour. Like, people driving around. I remember because I used to be on the farm and you always used to come, as a minimum, I think it came on at 9 a.m, midday, and then like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or something like that. And all the boys on the farm, like the guys that I used to work with, they'd all turn it up and they'd all be listening. And it's like, and then I started realizing, and I heard this thing that someone said about it. It's like anything significant that actually happens in the world, you're going to find out about it. Everything else is just noise.
Yeah, I'd echo that.
Man, when you think about it, what is going to change between 9 a.m, midday, and 5 p.m? In the whole week, what is going to happen in Australia that is that important that you need to tune into the news bulletin every 10 to 15 minutes? And yet everyone's wrapped. Everyone's listening to it so closely. And it's like, for one, barely anything ever changes. For two, what are they talking about? Crocodiles or bloody koalas or what? They're not talking about anything that important. You know what I mean? And if there's anything important enough to hear about, you're going to hear about it. And especially like today, with the property market and all the rest of sort of stuff, you got your Australian property news. I think it is the weekly edition that you put out, little bulletin of like things that are happening in the property world this week. Do I need to hear about anything else really that happens other than economically from a business standpoint and perspective and obviously the Australian economy side of things? Yes, to an extent that's
not standard news though.
No, it's not. It's because of the industry that I'm in and what my profession is, which is both property and the business that I'm in. But other than that, man, like everything else is just noise. And really all it's going to do is fill your head with negativity and pull you away from just trying to stay that course of the positive thinking and the momentum and just keeping on pushing with what you're doing. So in my opinion, man, like when it comes to these 6 simple choices, it's like blocking these things out. They're going to drag you. It's like the simple choices should allow you just to keep moving forward and not just like these little derails, man. You remember we're trying to stack the wins with these little 1%ers rather than these little negative 1%ers, the little derailers.
I was going to ask you, what do you do instead? But I feel like the answer is anything else. Like just don't do it.
Anything, man. Anything. 10, 15 minutes. If you want to do the exact opposite, I don't know, go read a book or go listen to, something that's actually realistically going to help you with your journey, some sort of education or whatever.
It's the same thing anyway. Like we were at my dad's the other day and he watches it. He loves it. And it was just like the first story is like some car accident. The next story is some schleb robbed a servo. And then the next story, you're never watching it like you said. And it's like, oh, hold on. Whoa, life's changing today. It's the same stuff anyway.
Yeah. And like some of it's tragic, man. Like there might be a death or a car accident or whatever, but it's like ultimately like, do you really need to watch that?
No, and I feel
the answer is an overwhelming no. You don't need to watch. You and I don't need to watch that.
I just feel insensitive saying it, but like I can't help them. They can't help me.
Yeah.
what are either of us getting out of that?
Yeah. So that's it for me. For me, these little things, you remember, they're just little things, but the idea of it is to stack the wins in your favor, to start removing some of this. And really, realistically, all this sort of stuff is just things that are going to hold you back on your journey, as opposed to things that can help keep pushing you in the right direction.
What's number 4, man?
Mate, number 4 for me is to not own your primary residence, but it is to rentvest.
You still rentvesting?
Still rentvest, man.
Bloody hell, man. Okay. How much you paying in rent?
A little bit.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's like, okay, so for me, like, and even getting to the sort of level that I'm at now, it's like to own what I want to own. This is a crazy thing, right? So like, I'm just going to paint the picture. I'm not saying that this is what I rent.
Yep.
To own a beachfront in Palm Beach on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Start entry price for an old shack, 8 to 9 mil.
Okay.
Purchase price of like a nice one was probably like 10 to 15 mil. 15 mil is really nice, right? To rent that, the shacks are about $2,000 a week. So remember, 8 million.
It's $100,000 a year in rent, but 8 million.
8 million.
I've actually got a mortgage calculator in front of me. I'm going to see how much the repayments are, but keep going.
Man, and even the ones that are like 10, 11, 12 million, they're like anywhere between like $3,000 to $4,000 a week. Now, I'm not saying that's what anyone or everyone could afford, right? But what I'm saying is when you start getting, especially like a little bit more expensive on a value side, your yields are significantly less. So the actual cost difference in renting that product versus owning it is significant, especially right now, even in the mortgage belts with interest rates as high as they are. The cost difference between renting that product and owning the product of even say a $1.5 million home, which is the average median in most cities in Australia right now for like an average sort of home. Man, when you're sitting at that sort of money, it's a massive difference, a massive variance in monthly cost and annual cost in your own journey in your portfolio.
So your repayments over a 30-year period for $8 million are $50,000, $50,566 a month.
A month.
That's a month.
$50,000 a month.
Yeah, and we're talking $100,000 a year to rent it. You're making a good point here, Sam.
You're pretty far in front, mate. And obviously, we're talking the full top shelf, right? With that stuff.
That's 8 mil. So that's the beach.
But I'm just talking about like, we're talking like, 8 to 10 mil sort of homes. So obviously the saving is significant when you're at that.
Yeah.
But even, man, when you start, like when you're looking at 3, 4, 5 mil, compared to what it costs to rent compared to owning it, especially at today's interest rates on P&Is, man, it's massive, right? And the easiest way that I look at it is if you can't afford your dream primary residence, why are you in a primary residence? If you're going to invest. And this is the biggest thing. If you're also going to invest, all you're going to be doing is doing jumping, like leapfrogging. And if you're going to be leapfrogging, and when I say leapfrogging, guys, like what I mean by that is like if you're in $1 million home now, but you're going to outgrow it, and you need to go to a $1.5, $2 million home, you're leapfrogging because you've got entry costs on the way in, stamp duties and whatnot. You've got exit costs on the way out, being sales agent fees and all the rest of the sort of thing as well. Plus you've got a significant mortgage while you're living in there, and then you've got to jump up. Maybe it's 1.5 to 2 mil, right? But it's still not your dream primary residence. It's just what you need now to live comfortably and potentially because of, more families come along or whatever. Or maybe you've just outgrown the other place because it's what you could afford when you first started. But if instead you rented that, like either that product, and even when it's time to move up and go to the next level of asset, maybe the $1 million property rents for, let's say, $700 a week, but maybe the $2 million property only rents for $1,000 a week. But in that whole time, you've retained your borrowing capacity. And retaining your borrowing capacity might allow you to build another $3-4 million worth of property into the portfolio. And I'm talking we might be talking over a 5-10 year lifespan. But then if that $3-4 million worth of property goes through a doubling cycle, and you can sell it down and then bank something similar to that as an actual profit amount, you can actually go out at the back end and buy your dream primary residence in cash, as opposed to bumbling your way along, upgrade here, upgrade there. You got more costs going out. You actually can't afford. You also be carrying a loan the whole way through it, as opposed to investing instead during that time frame. So it's one of those things, like to me, it's simple when I run the numbers, and I got a circa $50 million property portfolio. I still don't own my primary residence because at the moment, it still does not make sense for me to buy a property that's worth 5-10 mil compared to what I can rent it for.
If it doesn't now, will it ever?
Who knows? Well, I live on the Gold Coast now, right? So the Gold Coast has just gone through one of the biggest booms it's ever had. It's the second most expensive city in Australia right now.
Yeah, right.
So if there's ever a time not to buy on the Gold Coast, it's now. So like, yes, I can afford to buy it now, but do I really want it? Like, do I really want to buy at the back end of a boom? No, I would prefer to wait until maybe, the ass falls out of it in 5 years and there's actually some good value there. And I know exactly what I want to buy and I can buy something nice, at maybe 70, 80 cents on the dollar. Now's not the time to buy it. Just because I can doesn't mean it's the right time to.
What's your take on anyone's stance sort of going, okay, that's all well and good, Sam, but this is a store of wealth that's completely tax-free. If I buy it as an investment property, cool, I might be able to have more, but I'm going to be paying the tax man a huge amount of money.
Tax means you have profited a significant amount. Like paying tax just means you've made profit. To run that into the equation would be to then go, okay, no worries. Well, let's run the scenario on where you want to live right now. And you prove to me it's a better investment location over the next 5 years than 5 other properties I could buy you that could probably go through significant and substantial growth in that time frame. If that primary residence was in one of the best growth growth locations in Australia, we'd be having a different conversation.
The chances are,
You're probably a 1 in 15,000 chance at that, considering roughly the amount of suburbs that are in Australia.
Yeah, that's what
so,
you did there.
or maybe like a 1 in 5,000 chance or something like that. Very, very small chance that where you want to live. The other side of the coin, this is the other big part of it as well. It's like if you can't afford the dream primary residence, I'm just like overwhelmingly convinced in my mind, because I've run the scenario so many times in this thing, that it does not make sense to buy the primary residence if you can't afford the dream primary residence. I had a client just recently to run a scenario on this. He was capped out. He owned his primary residence in Melbourne. He was capped out. He could not buy any more. And we ran through these scenarios and I go, man, like there's other than selling the primary residence, which I wasn't even expecting him to even consider. I said, other than selling the primary residence, you're done for now until we sell off one of these that we've picked up. We had about 3 or 4 deals already. And I was like, until one of these go through a significant, like finish their cycle, we'll sell it off and we'll be able to come back and go again. So you might need to take, 6 to 12 months off until it.
Okay.
And then about a few days later, he calls me back and he goes, what about if I sell the primary residence? And I was just like, I started laughing. I never suggest it, but I plant the seed.
Yeah.
And then they're going to make the decision. And I go, well, man, let's run the scenarios on it. Long story short, sold the primary residence, which they had outgrown anyway. So they were just about to go from a 1.2 mil primary residence to a 1.6 mil primary residence.
So they were kind of thinking about it anyway. So this was just maybe the nudge they needed.
Yeah, man, selling that thing and then going, and the 1.6 mil primary residence was renting for like they could rent it for like $800 a week. It was crazy. So like the actual savings from that side, but then he's gone and bought, that was, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and he's bought 5. He's about to buy his 6th deal since that time frame, because we were able to restructure everything in terms of what he was able to do. He released a huge amount of cash, and his dream primary residence is like it's about $3 million with what he wants to buy. So it's like, it was never going to be the right stepping stone that was going to get him into it. So instead, we were able to leverage in the correct way and really build it strong from there.
I know I'm going to be having conversations with Bianca after I get home about this now. It's funny. She's actually the one that's interested in selling. I'm the one that's attached.
Interesting.
I love it. And I just like, it's family home now. But everything you're saying makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
But realistically, I know it's the smarter move.
This is where it comes down to, and this is why it's 6 simple choices, okay? But this one in particular is not for everyone. Because if you already own your primary residence and it's at low debt and you're on decent incomes and you don't need the borrowing, it's a different conversation. Because if you'd owned it for 10 years and it's doubled and you got a 30% LVR and you don't have a borrowing issue and you can release $300,000 and still borrow, it's probably not a conversation for you. But if you're starting out or you're early or you've never bought a property before and you're currently renting and you're trying to save to buy that first home, this is the different avenue you can go down that is significantly better.
I just don't think I can build a mini ramp in the backyard of a rental. And I got to get the little man into skating. That's my plan.
But again, man, this is like, you got to, like for yourself, assess your serviceability. Like, do you need to sell?
No.
But then
we can borrow without it.
There you go.
We're continuing to build.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think, man, you've got a 10 plus property portfolio. So it's like you're in a different position to a lot of people out there who'll be listening to this. And again, this is why it's like, it's not the exact scenario that everyone needs to have a good look at. It always depends on where you're at in your journey. And that's why strategy needs to take so many of these things into the equation. It's not just a haphazard, oh, well, Sammy said to do this, so I'm going to go do this. But my primary residence is debt-free and it's my dream primary residence and I've got $4 million worth of borrowing. You don't need to do it. You know what I mean? In that scenario, that person doesn't need to do it. It's always relevant to the individual that needs to assess it against their situation to then create the strategy off the back of that.
All right, man. Number 5. What's on the list?
How can you make more money? Again, this isn't probably a simple choice, but at the same time, if you need to do it to be able to get into your first deal or get extra borrowing, maybe you need to do it for 6 or 12 months. To me, that is a simple choice because if it is your needle mover and property is your vehicle, it's a simple choice. You need the borrowing capacity or you need the extra money for the deposit, go get another job.
I saw a TikTok the other day, which was a guy cleaning driveways. And I was actually talking to someone about this just the other day. This is always my go-to. Like if the podcast just died tomorrow, I'd buy like an Azedo pressure cleaner.
I'd like to think you could afford something better than a Zito.
Maybe, but value.
To start.
Exactly.
We've got to build the business.
Build it up, build the brand. But like you could do that. You could like
pizza and driveway cleans.
Pizzas and pressure cleaning. How'd you miss that?
I don't know, bro. It's not my wheelhouse. I put deals together. I don't make names.
But it's like, my whole point of that was this dude, he pops up every now and then, and it's just these little side hustles.
Yeah.
They're not huge. They're not like, oh, this is an extra $100,000 a year. But so many of them are like not that much extra effort.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's an extra 10, 20, 30 grand a year.
Yeah. On the Gold Coast, we try to find a dog groomer for our pup. We've got a German Shepherd. No one washes big dogs.
Really?
Too much effort. They just want to watch the little ones. How is it not a business idea? How is no one hooking into the idea? There's someone, if anyone lives on the Gold Coast and you want a guaranteed way to make money right now, start advertising on Facebook or Insta or whatever. Just like literally just start throwing it out there, because there'll be people looking for a dog groomer that washes. No one does it because everyone is so busy and so booked out. So for the people that are out there that go like, oh, I can't do this, I only make this much or whatever. It's like, okay, what are you doing before hours? What are you doing after hours? Like there are so many side hustles that you could do out there and literally make this extra money on the side. And man, like dog grooming, it's like there's a lot of money. You know, like they charge a fair bit for it. Where they go around with their little groomer, or you go around with a little kit and wash it. I don't know. Like, give me a call if you're on the Gold. We need a dog groomer.
You want to wash Sam's dog?
But you know what I mean? It's like, and there's so many. Morgs and I were talking about this the other day, man. There's so many people that like we try and go find little things to do. And like almost everyone these days is booked out. You need to try and book something. It always takes ages to get into anything. And man, there's just so many opportunities for these little side hustles that you literally could make good money in. Whether you're doing it for yourself, whether you go get an extra job or whatever it is, there's so many different little things here that you can make money in today's world. That I think this is a massive cop out when people are like, oh, I only make this amount. Okay, well, like how many hours do you have left over each night? How many hours do you have left over? Like, what are you doing every weekend? Like, I work 5 days a week. I don't do anything on the weekend. Okay, so you only make 70 grand a year, 80 grand a year. And the only reason I'm saying this, and I think I'm having to go at anyone here, I was in this scenario and I worked those extra jobs. I worked after hours during the week and I used to work Saturdays as well, some 2-3 jobs at a time sort of thing to get my deposits going and keep myself moving and everything. But man, going out there and doing that sort of stuff, you do that for 1 or 2 years, you know, go through that little bit of sacrifice. For one, no one is ever going to be able to say you were ever given anything because you work 2-3 jobs a year, you know you're working, at a time, you know you're working hard. Yeah. And no one can ever take that away from you. And I think like it builds a lot of character from that end, but it also you will have so much self-worth when you're finished with it because you have earned the right.
And you know you deserve it.
100%, man. 100%. And this is where I look at this stuff now and like, I can't listen to people like complain about that sort of stuff because it's fallen on deaf ears because I've been through it and I've seen so many people out there doing it as well that you know, cleaning the driveways, man, mowing lawns, washing dogs, all these sorts of things, these little side hustles, because they're the stuff other people don't want to do. They'll pay half decent for the job to get done.
Or even just stuff you could. I had this exact conversation with my sister and she's amazing baker. Okay. She can make like any chocolate bar into a cake.
Done. I'll buy it.
This is what I said to her. I'm like, Beck, like you could probably charge like $100+ for your cake. And it's like, how much does it cost you to make? She's like, I don't know, like $20, $15. I was like, you make a few cakes a week.
Yeah.
You don't even need to go to work. Like it's just this thing. But for her, it's like, oh no, I think I got enough stuff on.
Yeah.
And life could be totally different. And I feel like it's just that it's too hard. And if you want to have that lifestyle where you're building a portfolio, you're living that 1% lifestyle, but you want to do what everyone else is doing, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So whilst this is a simple choice, obviously it does involve more work.
Yeah. And this is the thing, man. These aren't 6 easy choices.
Yeah.
These are 6 simple. So it's like, it's simple to make the decision that I'm going to go get either another job or figure out that site. Like I'm gonna make that decision. It doesn't mean the action is going to be easy, but anything worth doing isn't easy. It's as simple as that.
Your old man was the same, pretty sure. Like my dad, he worked his normal job and then he drove cabs Friday and Saturday night. He did that for 18 years straight.
Yeah, right.
It's like no one made him do that.
Yeah.
And he didn't actually get into investing, but he paid off because for him that was the goal, to pay off the home.
Yeah.
And he did that super quick.
Right.
But it was just the work ethic. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
100%. It's always a choice. These things are choices. And I think like the really empowering piece of it is like no one can ever take that away from you. You had Harley Giddings on just recently, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Harley and I like text occasionally about a few things as well.
Good dude, Harley. He's
he is. He's a good. I sourced for his old boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we're having a bit of chat the other day, and I replied to something. I think it was when a troll, like someone had trolled him or something, and I just laughed at it, and I go, man, you're putting in the 15-hour days, bro. I know where you're coming from. Just man, he goes, oh, just laugh at it. I go, mate, that's all you can do because it's simple. It's just like when you're doing those hours, it's like all you can do is laugh at someone that tries to have a go at you about doing it because he puts these little things up about doing his 15-hour days and stuff, and it's like, man, good on you. Whatever you're doing the hard work, mate. No one can take that away from you. Doesn't matter what anyone can say. No one can take that away from you because you're working your butt off for it.
What's that saying the other day? That don't listen to anyone's opinion that you wouldn't take advice from. I think that's a good one. And anyone that's going to give hate on anyone, especially anyone like Harley, a young dude that's like killing it.
Yeah, man. I think I'm nowhere near as good with the quotes as you, but it's something like anyone that's doing better than you will never put you down.
That's a good one. Who is that?
Me. No, I don't know. It was Hormozy or someone. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I just quote everything from Hormozy if I hear from other people. And then the other big one I think is, never take advice from anyone that hasn't done what you want to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because like, why would you take advice from someone who hasn't done what you want to do? Hasn't been through the same struggles, the hardships, created the same wealth that you want to do? There's no point.
There's so many people in this space that do exactly that as well. You and I were having a bit of a chat off air just about that before, but I won't go into detail about any of that.
No, let's do it.
All right, man. So surmising as we're getting towards the end of this.
Yes.
So good debt is the only debt you want to take on. Number one, you know negativity. Get rid of all of that out of your life, whether that's friends, situations, whatever it is.
Eliminate negativity.
Cut. No news. Because realistically, if there's an earthquake, you're going to feel the ground shake. You don't need to listen to the news all the time.
News is not going to let you know as quick as Mother Nature will.
Yeah. No PPR. There's a small caveat to that, but otherwise, realistically,
embrace rent vesting, man.
Got it. The second to last one here, side hustle. Basically it doesn't actually have to be a side hustle, but just increasing your income.
Yeah. How do you make more money? How can you make more money?
Yeah. I think about that like when I was an agent. I didn't have a side hustle, but I was working a sales job. A sales job, if you're commission based, just turn up the volume. Just start doing 80-hour weeks.
Yep.
You will earn more money eventually.
100%.
Or you will lose your job because you're really bad. What's the next one on the list, man?
Man, the final one for me, it kind of like almost typifies everything here and almost consolidates it all into one hit. It's sacrifice. It's as simple as that. It is a simple choice, but it's probably the hardest one out of everything. But like we're kind of talking about, and that's why it's kind of surmising everything here. But like, do you really need to go to Europe if you're 24? And again, this is where it comes back to, where do you want to be when you're 30? If you're in your 20s, where do you want to be when you're 30? If you're in your 30s, where do you want to be when you're 40? Because we should all be setting goals. They don't need to be decade goals, but we should all be setting goals in our lives. And if a Euro trip's going to cost you 20, 25, 30 grand or something like that, if you combine that with the rest of your savings, is that your first deal? Could you put that trip off 1 year? And this is where it comes back to, what do you really, really want out of life? Because I look at a lot of my mates that went on those Europe trips every year and they had their best time. And sometimes I look at it and I go, man, I wish I did that. There's so many cool stories there. But then, man, I look at it now and they're all like, I wish I did what you did, man. They're looking at me now and they're starting now. They started a couple of years ago or whatever. And there's a simple thing. You're going to look back on your 20s and go, man, I had the best time of my life. Or you're going to look back and go, yeah, I'm set for the rest of my life. And whether you're starting that journey in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, whatever it is, if you're listening to this as well, you're at a decision point that you now have to make as to what changes do I want to make. Because yeah, man, I remember I always thought about this and I was like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And I did it when I could afford to do it. So I did it that first year that I actually sold that first place. I freed up some capital. I bought the ute, man. I bought 2 more cash flow deals. Like my cash flows were now pumping. And I was like, no, you know what? I've earned the right. I can go and do this now. And yeah, man, but like all that time before it came that sacrifice piece. I think it depends on really what you want to do. Do you want to build for the future or do you want to kind of like live in the now? And there's actually no wrong answer to that, because if you do really, really just want to enjoy life and then figure it out down the track, that's okay. But don't whinge about it in 5 or 10 years. When you look back, like that is the choice that you made.
Makes me think of that Stoic saying that easy choice, hard life, hard choice, easy life.
Yeah. I was trying to get somewhere around there with the 20s to 30. Yeah. You know,
it's there. Yeah. But what do you think though about like, because I look at like a holiday now. I can't wait to go to like a resort. I've never wanted to go to a resort before. Okay. Just watch the little man in the pool, like be in bed by like 5 o'clock. Like I genuinely, I could not care less about going out and partying. But I used to love that.
Yes.
Like rewind the clock 10 years ago. I don't care where I'm going. Like if I'm going to I still remember going to Paris, making friends with a whole bunch of randoms and staying out in Parisian nightclubs until like 4 a.m. That was great. If I had have put that off, I wouldn't have got that experience. I might have got a Paris experience, but it would have been a very different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Is there a part of you that's like, okay, maybe just don't go all out and spend a whole deposit, but maybe do like still bits of those youth, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely do. And this is where I think it comes back to like, to an extent balance, but also to an extent like, what's your personality? Like we're both reasonably outgoing sort of people. And I look back and I'm like, I probably could have like given in a year or two there and gone and enjoyed it. And that's why I'm like, I'm not saying everyone has to go as crazy as I did, 7 years of like no travel. I definitely think people should enjoy themselves in the time, but like maybe could you do instead of a 25 grand Europe trip, could you do a 5 grand Bali trip or Thailand or something like that?
Yeah, I get you.
And maybe the sacrifice, especially if you're doing it every year and you're loving it, is just like, is shaving that, which is a $20,000 saving. It's pretty significant. Or could you go to the Goldie and do it for a few grand or whatever if you're used to spending 10 to 15, you know what I mean? Something like that.
You'll have a lot of fun on Koh San Road in Bangkok. Just don't hold the balloon.
Okay.
I learned that.
Okay, I'll take that advice. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's even dialing it back. And again, like these little wins, like how can I turn this thing properly in my favor? But I think, man, ultimately if people really, really want these things and really want these wins, if you put it off for 1 year and that gets you into your first deal and it's the right property in the right location at the right price, a lot of that's going to do the heavy lifting for you from that point anyway. So it's like, even if you missed out on 1 year, but you can set the wheels in motion to start building the rest of it, that's the most important piece. It doesn't mean you need to sacrifice every year, but what do you need to sacrifice to as a minimum to get into the first one or get into the next one to keep that momentum and that shift going? And for me, anything from like the big expensive trips, the new car, especially if you don't need it, man, like it's I feel like a car is like that earned right at the end of the journey, not anywhere even during the journey. And then the other one for me is the primary residence. It is a bit of a sacrifice, and I think it's an Australian thing to really want to own our own home. It's a castle, right? It's our castle to most Aussies out there. We love to own our own homes. But ultimately, I think when you shift that lens, and if I like be real on my stuff as well, man, I lived in my own homes from 19 until 27, 28. And then that's when I actually realized, because I hit a serviceability ceiling. And then I realized the difference of if I rented it out and then went and rented somewhere else, like the change that kind of went about with that too, it was significant. And then from there, I was like, well, hang on a sec. I was living in at the time, a $700,000 home. It's worth $1.3 million now. Is that my dream primary residence? No, my dream primary residence, I actually don't even really know what that is. Again, if you don't even know what it is, like why would you go and buy it? But for me, it's probably somewhere 10 to 20 mil. Realistically, like I want something sick.
Yeah, it's got to have a runway at least.
Probably too.
Yeah, helipad.
But when you think about that, because then when you extrapolate that and then think about that, for me, like at that price point, well then what could I go and rent it for every year? And then what could I do with the exchange in cost? Like you're saying 50 grand a month to own that
mortgage, yeah.
in mortgage, or 10 grand a month to rent it. The $40,000 a month servicing difference plus actual savings differences. What could I do that as an investor that invests at my level? It is significant. And that's why, man, like you could take and people ask me all the time, why don't you just buy the primary residence? Why don't you just go buy the beach house or the canal front or whatever? And it's like, because it's not the right time. And I can't, there's just so many factors to it that actually don't make sense to do it. So yeah, man, I hope it's just like put a little bit of like some things into perspective as to what's actually worth worrying about within this. And then what are the things to like focus on for your little 1%ers to try and get yourself to the next level. And as you say there, catapult yourself into some pretty solid growth.
I think it was Sigmund Freud that once said, you give me a child from 0 to 7 and I'll turn them into anything that you want them to be. If someone just said, all right, Sam, you call the shots on my life. I'll work whatever you want me to work. I'll hang out with whoever you want me to hang. Basically, I'll do all of this.
Yep.
Is this essentially a big part of the formula that could essentially turn them into what you've achieved? Like these are the keys, so to speak.
So the only new clients that I work with these days are mentoring clients that I work closely with through School of Property, right? Also pretty much work very closely with Australian Property Scout. Most of those guys from standing starts, if they're coming through with standing starts, we're doing 3 deals within the first 12 months. If they've already got established portfolios, we're doing anywhere between 4 to 6 properties a year. What is the one caveat, the one box that they have to tick that is an absolute yes and is an absolute non-negotiable? Will you do anything that Sam tells you to do?
Is that actually a box on a form?
Yes, it is. And obviously it's not going to be to the stupid levels.
Yeah,
but I want people to go, yes, you tell me to jump, how high? Whatever, all these sorts of things. If someone lets me sculpt their lives, their journeys, what they're doing, if they're telling me what they're making and I'm like, man, shouldn't you be making more or whatever? I was like, go ask for a raise. All these random sorts of things I've spoken about. I was talking about Toby before with the primary residence. And then he asked me about it. And then we went into the full depths in the full details about it and everything as well. Like having those sorts of conversations with people is where you take someone from 0, like in his scenario 0, to like he'll do 6 within 12 months of that. Actually, it's less in like 9 months of that conversation. If I can sculpt someone's, like I've been through I've seen so many people's sort of scenarios. I've gone through so many lending situations and scenarios and all the rest of it as well. I've seen obviously all the deals, the style of deals and everything we've put together too. If you put yourself completely in my hands, like game on. Like strap yourself in because there's a lot that's going to happen in the next 12 months.
You ever make someone just do the hokey pokey or whatever just for a bit of laugh?
No, but I've tried to make them lick their own elbow. You've tried it?
No. I really want to, but I know I can't.
Do it.
Nah.
It's all G-rated, the things I asked for, but they're big needle movers. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, man.
They're big needle movers. So I think it's cool, man. When you've been through a lot of stuff, like you can pick things apart pretty quickly and show someone the light and the path forward.
I want to try again.
I think it's actually whatever the
physically impossible.
That's the one.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to think of something really advanced expression for that, but yeah physically.
I'm going to practice. Next time you see me, I'll be a fully fledged elbow licker.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Oh, that's classic.
Oh, mate. Well, look, what's an action step we can round this out into? Someone's been pumped by this. They're inspired.
Man, I think as always, it always comes back to, and I talk about this all the time, but it's like doing the self audits. Doing the self audits on yourself, like in all aspects of things. Probably the easiest one if we look at the debt side of things. Have you got those bad debts we're talking about? If the answer is yes, okay, how quickly can I get rid of those bad debts and then eliminate them? We're talking the loans, the credit cards, all that sort of thing. We want to be getting rid of those sorts of things as quickly as possible. The negativity piece, again, audit on that. I think we actually spoke about that a while ago. Might have been 5-6 months ago, whatever, when we caught up last year, doing the audit on like the inner circle. And I think it's the same thing with the negativity piece. It's that. And it's even like, are you being negatively impacted even by like your social medias and things like that? Like different things that are coming in. Are they like almost like belittling you into, I mean, that's so much of what social media is, right? It's like this pedestal that's actually not real, but that you think is real because you see it in other people's stuff. These sorts of things. And then those people that are giving you that negative influence, limiting that as much as possible. I think that's a huge thing. Kind of that flows or obviously very, very easily into the news side of things. Now, if you live in a household where your parents listen to the news, I tried to talk my parents out of it back when I first got into this habit. It's very hard to talk people specifically in their 50s, 60s, 70s that are old school thinkers to try and talk people out of that thing. Just remove yourself from the room. Remove yourself from the conversation around that sort of stuff. I guarantee you it will have a positive impact on your life probably within a day, a week, whatever. Once you eliminate that stuff, it'll be massive. Yeah, man, we went deep into the Rentvesting thing. I think if anyone wants to have a good look into that, we went pretty deep onto it. The side hustle piece, we went to that too.
The self-audit. So basically what I'm hearing for the action step is take a look at yourself on each of these 6 points.
Yes.
And go, look, what is maybe the thing that is probably holding me back the most that I can actually address the soonest?
Yeah.
But you're only going to know that if you actually take the time to do a self-audit.
Yeah, man, 100%. I think the other thing too, man, it's probably like the clearest way I would put this too. These only work if you are 100% honest with yourself. So a self-audit of like, oh yeah, and I don't know if you ever did. I remember when I used to do this when I was younger, I never really realized I was doing this, but you think about yourself and the things that you do and like, oh no, I'm pretty good at this. Oh no, I'm pretty good at that. I'm talking about like looking at this stuff honestly and going, can you make more money? Oh no, like, cause I don't 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, whatever. It's like, okay, and weekends, you know what I mean? Like really, really like be honest with yourself about this sort of thing. The more excuses you make with this sort of stuff, the more that you're not going to get these results. But these self-audits across the board, if you are dead honest with yourself, that is where the biggest change will come in your life.
Something that I think can really help with that is if you feel that you are, but maybe you're like, oh, I think I'm being honest, but I don't know. I love this exercise. I don't know if you've ever done this.
Let's go.
But you ask yourself if X person, so let's say you,
okay?
Right? So someone's listening right now and they're like, if Sam Gordon was to step into my life right now and take control of the growth of my portfolio, what's the first thing he'd do? Most of the time, when you actually think about that, if someone was to actually...
Can you give an honest answer?
Yeah. Like you're going to be like, oh, well, he'd definitely do that. It's like, well, why aren't you doing that? There's your answer.
That's a great point, man. I like that. That's cool.
It's a good way to do it.
Yep.
I often think of that in business. Coming to the pointy end of everything, mate, I got to ask you the most important question.
It hasn't changed. No. It hasn't changed.
Well, we'll change it up a little bit.
Okay.
Right now.
No, the pizza answer hasn't changed. Or are you changing the question?
Well, we're changing the question.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
I always ask you your favorite pizza.
Yes.
I know you're a barbecue meat lovers man, and you like to put pineapple on it because you're an interesting fella. And anchovies as well?
Anchovies is good. I tried it since we spoke last.
Right.
It's not bad.
Where is your favorite pizza place that makes this pineapple meat abomination?
The pineapple meat abomination has only been a recent injection. Okay. So we've only tried it recently.
Okay.
What I probably actually should do is probably the favorite pizza I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Actually, that's not a bad one. Favorite pizza.
I thought that's what the answer has always been.
No, it's a favorite pizza.
What's your favorite pizza?
Pizza, yeah. I'm talking about like pizza place.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're talking about like a specific meal, not a type of pizza.
Now, I haven't lived in this area for quite a while, so no one hold me to it if their pizzas are now average.
Okay.
But down in Bowral, so I'm like a Southern Highlands boy originally, right? Down the Southern Highlands, there was a place in Bowral called Coliseum Pizzas. Coliseum. And they do this colossal. They do a colossal, right? And it's like, you know how they do like the meat-alongs at different joints? This thing's like bigger than a meat-along, and it is so good. And pretty much any flavor you get there is amazing.
So the colossal meat along, any flavor. And are you just like doing a massive workout and trying to smash the thing as a challenge, or are you going there with friends?
No, you just order a few of them and then it takes you like a few days to eat. It's like massive. It's monstrous, but they're mad pizzas.
Have you ever done an eating challenge?
No.
I did one years ago. It's something that you do once, and unless you're a professional eater, you're like,
never do it again.
It's a bad idea.
Nah, I kind of like know that I won't be good at it. Like I eat a lot, but like I don't eat like an eating challenge amount, if that makes sense.
Mine was it was at a bakery, and it was the challenge was 2 donuts, half a liter milkshake, and 10 pies. And I got
So
through.
it's literally designed to make you vomit.
Yeah, it was because apparently the human stomach can only hold like 3.5 kilos, and
Okay.
it was like 4 kilos of food.
Yep.
And I got 8 pies, the donuts, and the milkshake, but I left 2. I've never experienced. I could not.
Did you vomit?
No, it came very, very close. And I reckon if I kept going, I would have pushed. But yeah,
Dude, that's 8 pies.
it was nuts. Yeah, I've never done that again.
Wow.
But that was also when I was training for the rides. I just rode 200 Ks that day, so like I was
You were hungry.
Yeah.
Where's the colossal? Oh, that's impressive. I
mate.
thought the Colosseum pizza was impressive, but that might have taken the cake.
Yeah, I don't reckon I can do that now. But mate, it's always good fun to have you on the show. It's always
Likewise,
a laugh and always learning quite a lot. With Sammy Gordon from APS, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks, Toddy. Appreciate it, bud.